Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. This is Channel Vision editor Gerald Baldino here, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. Today, we're very excited to feature the team from Iron Mountain Data Centers, who are making it easy for customers to access the data center using Smart Hands. Over the next hour, we'll provide a comprehensive overview of Smart Hands, covering typical use cases, things to consider when talking to a provider about Smart Hands, Smart Hands best practices, a Smart Hands 30 days free customer promotion, and a channel partner spiff information. Joining us today is Senior Product Manager Trevor Slade. We also have Troy Hill, who is Regional Director of Data Center Operations, and Chris Miller, who is Data Center Infrastructure Manager. Also with us is Machado, who is Director of Global Channel Sales and Field Marketing, and Jamie Wiebel, who is Strategic Program Manager. At this point, I'd like to turn the webinar over to Michelle to begin.
So my name is Michelle Machado, and I'm the Director of Global Channel Sales and Field Marketing for Iron Mountain Data Centers. We're super excited to be here today and truly appreciate you joining our webinar to talk about Smart Hands. Members of the channel team that are here today are myself and Jamie Wiebel. And Jamie is our marketing extraordinaire and handles all things partners and field marketing. And a great resource for the channel. And then the other members of our team that I'd like to introduce are our presenters today. So I'll just jump right in. So our first presenter is Trevor Slade, and Trevor is our Senior Product Manager, and Smart Hands is one of the products in his portfolio. I'd also like to introduce Troy Hill, and Troy is Regional Director of Data Center Operations, and he's responsible for Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Illinois. And then third, we have Chris Miller, and Chris is Data Center Infrastructure Manager and highly involved in the Smart Hands product, and has teams that support the requirements for Smart Hands. So you're in good hands now, and I'm going to hand off to Trevor Slade.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, can you go to the next slide and we'll get started here? So first, I wanted to start a little bit on who Iron Mountain is. So Iron Mountain, as a global brand, serves the needs of over 200,000 customers. And some of the highlights here, we have over 68 exabytes of data under management, decades of operations, 89 million pieces of media in high secure data protection vaults, over 675 million square feet of hard copy records stored. And Iron Mountain has established the security, compliance, safety, environmental certifications, process discipline, and governance to have earned the trust of the largest, most sophisticated customers in the world. And that includes government agencies and over 95% of the Fortune 1000 who call us, who are customers today. So go on to the next slide, please. So in addition to that, Iron Mountain's been making waves in the data center space. So Iron Mountain has made investments in data centers to support customers' demand, and we have invested more than $3 billion, that's billion with a B, in the last 3 years. This investment has extended our reach of the brand while keeping certain things core, certain Iron Mountain values at its core. So you'll see that from our global product standards, our compliance programs, which are very robust. Things like 100% of our data centers are served from green power, safety programs, and Iron Mountain's brand, it's going to be felt in the customer experience as well, and in the topic that we're covering today. So Iron Mountain's Smart Hand service is only a few clicks away at all of our sites 24/7. So I wanted to pause for a brief moment and just acknowledge the fact that I understand that many of the folks on this call aren't going to get paid directly for the Smart Hand service, but I really think that it's encouraging to hear how this group is acting as good corporate citizens and stewards for their customers, and really look and understand more about a service that is really important to your customer. And I think that that's really cool. And I think that there's a couple of things that I hope you get out of today. and really can help you show your value to your customers. And those are that, number one, Iron Mountain wants to come alongside you and win with you and your customers. And number two is I want you to understand how the Smart Hands service is that force multiplier for your customers. And number three is I want to make sure you understand that we've made this as simple as possible for your customers to understand, and really have been focused on that global standard that helps your customers grow. And we do that by offering the same customer experience and service around the world. So with that, I'll start into what the service actually is. So when our customers can't be on site, Iron Mountain Smart Hands service is the partner they trust. And in today's environment, our customers need Smart Hands more than ever. Our highly skilled Smart Hands team, which is the core of what we do. It's all about this team.
The highly skilled teams are really set up and built so that they can support any needs that the customer have. That's from doing project-related work, helping the customer design and build their environments, and understand when they're doing the customer fit outs or designing the data center, what it's going to take, where their switches go, and how they want those layouts, all the way down to project-related work. If a customer's needing us to do rack and stack or needing cables run, they're there for that. They're also there on the chances that the customer needs something overnight, right? So that quick response, able to help the customer when the customer's not available to be on site, or when the customer doesn't have that expertise. If it gets to a conversation with the customer where they're asking about things like network, how to work with the carriers, how to get that circuit out, and they have questions, or they don't have an expert on hand, we have those experts that are built into these teams where they can assist them in making sure that they're there to answer those questions and be the local expert on hand. The other part is making sure that we're doing the menial tasks, right? Like trash removal or getting crash carts, or helping just as being that concierge who's on site, an extra set of hands to help load a server in, or help that customer get a cable across the overhead, lend them a tool. When Trevor says it's really about the customer experience, that's what we're really focusing on. So it's not just one thing, it's everything. Working with that customer to assist them in all the different aspects of everywhere from fit out to daily operation to making sure that we're planning as the new projects spin up, to assisting them for relocations or anything of that nature. We see kind of three primary overlays for the Smart Hands team, and one of that is staff augmentation that you'll hear about. The second one is the value prop of having people on site at all times and working for that customer. And then the third one is having trusted people there that are the experts in their field that can really assist the customer as they need those experts in the field. So we kind of talked about this. Chris Miller, do you want to go over with the team what the Smart Hands techs do on a daily basis, and what your team takes care of on a daily basis?
Sure, Troy, thanks. We always say we do everything physical for the customer when it comes to Smart Hands. We don't get into the logical aspects of your rack and your devices. We don't want your passwords. We're not looking for that type of information. But we do everything else. We do get you set up, with a crash cart to get devices initially IP'd and connected to get you, remote access to your devices on setup. We obviously do all the rack stack based off best practices. We also work with you to get your racks sealed, so when your cold hour is contained, that all that air goes through your devices, prolonging the life of these devices. We set up your entire infrastructure if needed, build it as robust or simple as needed. We have designed entire data center spaces for customers without them on site, and then they come in and just get their network set up. We also handle all the cross connects from carriers. So we have carrier rooms in all of our data center sites, and Iron Mountain provides that infrastructure coming from that carrier closets to your data center space. We hang demarcs in your space and then get those cross connects connected to your space as well as patched down to your equipment. Troy pointed out that what we do in a big pinch is we have 24/7 coverage for you guys. We had an example of 2 Fridays ago. A customer called in, could not get their vendor that they had under contract on site to fix a SATA dome drive. My team was able to break the box apart. It was an active swap out, so no powering down. We were able to change that drive, get that customer back up within 45 minutes when the vendor wouldn't even have been to the site yet. So those type of responses are what we cut our teeth on in WPA and all the other sites. Like Troy said, our teams are built for diversity and all these different jobs. We have guys that run infrastructure. We have guys that are better on software. So all of our teams build to complete every task that we need. And another great thing is we open up bridges with our customers. Since the customers are remote, they're not there, we can send them pictures through our ServiceNow tickets. We can bring them in video. So we can bring the customer virtually right to his rack while the fixes are happening at their space. And we're also a watchdog when they do send vendors on site. We escort into our spaces if required. So if something were to happen with their vendor, we can be there to quickly fix and escalate the problem.
Thanks, Chris.
And Chris, that may be a great point. Trevor's back.
I am.
Why don't you tell the story about what you were just describing with the vendor on site and the vendor unplugging the device?
Yeah, so we had a vendor on site probably 3 weeks ago, and we were there just to escort because of secure reasons. This vendor is not badged for our site or for the customer's cage, so we do escort with our Smart Hands team while they're down there doing their work. So luckily enough, somehow the vendor was able to get in the rack he was working on and took both sides of power down on their main network switch. Without our team being there and paying attention to what he was doing, they would have been down for a while. Simply, we got it plugged back in and they had minimal downtime, whereas, the vendor didn't even know he did it. He was moving some other cables, pulling, and ended up pulling both cables out of the PDUs that were both on the same side in the rack. So it's just simple little things like that the customer may not even see. But that could have been a prolonged hour outage when it ends up being about 5 to 10 seconds. So
Can I add something really quick there? I just want to say I get really encouraged by being able to read the back and forth with customers that go on these Smart Hands tickets, and I get to see the level of trust that gets established as a customer comes in as new, and then just over time the rapport that gets built, and literally our team members on that Smart Hands team become that they're almost part of that customer's team themselves. They view them as part of the team, and really it's so awesome to see the level of satisfaction that gets expressed on these tickets as well. It's very clear that the customer is counting on us, and then we deliver for them. And as a product manager, there's something magic that happens when you get quality people, a really sound process, and then you augment that with the right software experience. And it's a really powerful way to enable a customer. And we see it a lot where a customer really has a good experience at one site, and they're able to establish that as a standard, and then go repeat that at a different site somewhere else, and it could be across the globe. And they have that confidence, and they know that they're going to be able to execute on it. And really, it's a testament to the team more than anything. That's where it starts. And Chris is a big part of that.
So Trevor, for the channel partners that are on the phone, kind of to reiterate a statement you made earlier, even though this is not something that would seem like a normal thing that they should focus on, what this is going to help is to drive the trust that their customer has with Iron Mountain. So when they come back and they say, well, it's time for the next deployment or it's time for the next project, in many of our sites, that customer's not on site. They're using us as the primary sources there so that they have easier and less inhibitions to build with us and grow with us and have that trust built with Iron Mountain to continue to grow as those relationships move forward.
That's absolutely right. And if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, Jamie. There we go. So that's exactly right. And really the way I view our role in this with this channel group is when the channel helps a customer navigate the procurement process of a data center, and they end up and we end up winning the business. And really what this is about is about doing a good job after the close. It's not about just getting the deal, but it's what happens after the fact. And that's where I think that long-term relationship that really has a ton of value. So channel partner brings a deal and goes through a selection process. Iron Mountain wins the deal. The goal for us is that we get not only the renewal with you, but also the expansion, because that's what the customers are looking for, is that there's only a handful of customers that can, or service providers, you can name them on two hands, that can actually do things on a global scale. And we're looking to aggressively grow and be that option that is the option of choice when it comes to doing that on a global scale. And to give you an idea of how we enable that, here you go. So a full list of the full offering is available at every operational data center. So that's 24/7, 365, and it's the same list of services across the globe. Same customer portal, and I think you've already heard some of what of the services that we're up to. And really the advantage I heard Chris talking about, it's a lot easier if you need a server rebooted to have us do it than it is to have, a customer have a tech drive across town, or in some cases, their closest person is a flight away, and that can be a flight across the country or a flight across the ocean. And so having someone on site there to be able to do it is really convenient. The other things that I heard Chris talk about was the ability to simple things like a photo is a big deal. And we do that everywhere, just like everything else on the list. And so that's really the magic that we have is that global standard. And I think what you'll find is a lot of the other global operators, they're going to ask you as a consultant and really helping the customer understand where they're going. You're going to have to go look at a decoder ring basically, and this service is available here but not there. And really we're trying to demystify all that and just have us keep that standard something that as a baseline that if you like us at one site, you're going to love us everywhere. If you wouldn't mind going to
Trevor,
the next
one
slide
big
too.
thing, one other thing to reiterate there too is now we have a record of that in ServiceNow. So 5 years from now, when they say, hey, did we work on this server? Did we work on this part? They can roll back and look through those tickets, and they can look at those pictures to see how it was set up before. They know exactly what we did. There's a verbal, there's a chat feature in the tickets that gives step-by-step, blow-by-blow of what happened. So that is, archive forever in the, as long as they're with us, they can go back and look at everything that was done in their data center easily, just getting in ServiceNow and looking it up.
That's an awesome point. And Jamie, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, we've got a couple of stories like that that'll help illustrate. So Chris, if you wouldn't mind going through this first use case, if you wouldn't mind. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Trevor. So this first point case was a customer that came to us 5 or 6 years ago, and they came with us with about a 250 kilowatt deal, about 30 to 40, 50 racks, somewhere in that neighborhood. And they also had 2 people budgeted from their company to be sat in that data center and take care of it day-to-day operations. In the meantime, before hiring those 2 employees, we started doing the work for them remotely. They were out in the West Coast, we're in Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, and they, they have a 140-page run book, basically how they want things done there. So as they started building out, we were able to fulfill their requirements, and ultimately leading to them pulling those 2 employees out of their budget and only using us as a Smart Hands team. Now they come in every quarter to fulfill their audit options, but for the most part, we have been hands and feet in their space for the last 6 years. They are a customer that had a good requirement or a good set of requirements in a 150-page, 40-page run book that they asked for pictures when we put the items in. So very specific, very organized customer, but it's just a true case of how much we actually save them. Now they just use a la carte. They use hours as they need them, that they're specific, and they're not paying those 2 guys, 80 hours a week.
That's a great point. And just to give, for instance, right, 2 guys isn't going to get a customer 24/7 service, right? In order to have that round the clock, you're going to need at least 7, and that's bare minimum in order to make that happen. So what Smart Hands was able to do for this customer was not just displace some of the hassles of trying to find the right fit for folks that aren't going to get any supervision and just be in your site, and really replace that with a team that's there and established and that's very much used to following procedures and guidelines as needed and providing documentation along the way. So I think that's a great example that's actually really common, is once the customer tries the service, that they start to say, oh, what can I do with this? This is pretty cool. And I get that 24/7 support from folks that I trust, without having to have headcount or trying to, it's a different fit to try to manage somebody that you don't really have any contact with, or there isn't actually organizational apparatus to oversee what's going on when you're not there. That's a great one.
That's
Troy,
great example. That's a great example of staff augmentation on the large level, right? The use case 2 is staff augmentation on the project-based level. So in Virginia, about a week ago, we had a scenario where a customer was coming down to get some additional racks up and moving to handle the COVID situation. They needed some additional capacity. And when that happened, they sent in these racks, and then they sent in a pallet, including 5,300 drives. So on a Wednesday, the customer comes and says, hey, we got this coming. I got a ticket that's going to drop. Can you handle that for us? Can you help us with that? Because it's only 2 of us here on site getting this equipment stood up. We're not going to be able to make date and get back in time to Boston where we were heading. So, sure, right? We can handle that. They got online. They dropped the ticket. We pulled together the additional staff from our site, pulling people off other projects, and we were able to help them get those 5,300 drives out of the boxes, trash gotten rid of, all loaded into the different servers, and everything stood up for them in about 4 hours. So that really kind of shows that project-related staff augmentation, where it doesn't have to be this, we're working for you every day. It can just be, hey, I need you now, and I need you for this project. That's a great example, Troy. Thanks for sharing that with us. And I think those are just what's cool about these pain points is in these user stories is that they're so recent, right? This isn't uncommon, right? This is that spirit of what Smart Hands is about. It's about being that force multiplier for the customer, right? Whether they're across the country or actually on site and just don't have the ability to hold their team over for another few more days and reschedule flights because their project is going to go over. We can staff up and augment that team and really make things happen for them quickly. That's really cool. This last one, Chris, would you mind talking about this one? I know you were involved.
Yeah, and this was this was a customer that came to us, and we built their data center out completely. They were a top of rack design, so we had a robust fiber and copper infrastructure from their network rows all the way out through their compute and storage roads. So they're 6 rows into a build. They were looking to add row 7 and 8 this year, and they had quite a bit of turnover in their company. So basically, the network team here that was here when this was designed was completely gone, and the notes weren't very well passed on. So, from the work of us building their data center and basically running every cable in that data center, we had a port-to-port that was complete. Every cable was on it. The A and Z location were on there, as well as elevations, and we also kept asset view, which is software we use to track where all the devices are put in the data center. So we had that whole package that we gave them a couple weeks when they were trying to build out this last row on how to build it, where to bring it from, where's the network switches that they need to get to their new devices. So without that, they were really blind and dark into their system, just from the turnover and things not getting turned over in a proper way inside their own company. So we were able to supply that back to them, which gave them every port in their data center at their fingertips now. So we actually just finished that build last week for their upcoming rows, and they're up and running and happy. So
That's
it was
awesome.
unintended by us, but it's just the detail work we do when we're installing. We need to have all the details up front, because in the middle of the night when we do get that phone call that says a device is down, we need to know where that device is so we can find it in a hurry. And that's what we use that port to port in our labeling scheme for.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's a really good example because, turnover inside of an IT organization at customers is very common, right? IT resources tend to move up and out, right? They end up getting hired on somewhere else, and all the time we're seeing new IT directors come in and trying to fill the shoes of someone that is no longer there. And oftentimes the documentation was either not kept up to date, or they just don't know where it is, and relying on folks that they can trust to give them the background there can really save them a lot of time and end up really changing the dynamics of the performance of that organization. And so that was one benefit of having the software and the ticketing mechanism, and really just bringing us into the fold early, was able to provide, right? We're able to augment and really help bring folks up to speed faster than having to do a total audit of an environment, which is huge, and very common. So those are 3 common use cases that really show how the service is that force multiplier for customers that is there when you need it, and I think that's huge. In addition to that, I did want to touch on, it's not just about how valuable and flexible the service is. There's another part of this that on the next slide we'll talk about, which is we want to make it easy to do business with as well. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. And so with the approach that we were talking about, really we want to make it as low friction as possible. And this service is very low friction. So we make the service available to all of our customers at all of our sites, and that's available as a pay-as-you-go model. So customer simply just logs into the portal, their admin makes a request, and we go from there. We're trying to be also very fair as how we do the billing. So that's, we use hourly billing, but we're not doing 1 hour minimums like you'll see out there. Everything we do is 15-minute increments. So there's no minimums. It's just 15-minute increments, and it's at the local standard rates. So really, it's flexible for the customer to use as an ongoing pay per use or pay as you go model. In addition to that, a lot of customers really want to lock in some savings, and so we offer monthly retainers for folks at a discounted rate. So this would be the customer that says, you know, I have ongoing needs, and I want to make sure that that I have a budget locked in, and I really want to have that discounted hourly rate. So we only require a 1 hour minimum there, which is really nice for customers to really try and be able to scale up as they need. And you could see where a customer would have a couple hours on retainer, and that way they can just use it as they need it and don't have to worry about any kind of ups and downs in their bill. And the same experience for either customer. They simply log into a portal, no matter what site they're at, and make the request. So we walk through all of what Smart Hands is about, how to order, where it's available, and really what we wanted to do was do something something to help, right? And really what this slide is about is a promotion that we have available. It's an offer that we launched during this COVID issue. And really this is about, we did it to address any limitations customers may have in accessing our data centers due to lots of things: travel restrictions, shelter in place mandates, or just good social distancing protocols. We have that special COVID-19 offer for Smart Hands. It's available again. This is a theme here: all sites to all customers. It's running now through June 30th. And this offer enables a customer to add Smart Hands on a monthly retainer that's risk and cost free for the first 30 days. So it's a try before you buy kind of a scenario. And the intent here is to provide customers with options to adapt their continuity plans in this interesting time that we're going through. And so that they have not only some relief now as far as the budget free month, but also a long-term strategy to be able to service their environment. And in addition to that, as a small token of gratitude to our healthcare customers that the team had identified, they're going to be receiving a little bit more. We're actually giving them their first 2 hours of pay as you go or pay per use Smart Hands during the second quarter, and we're going to waive those for them. So with that, I really appreciate the folks on the phone's time here. I hope this was meaningful and useful. You feel free to reach out after this call if you have additional questions that we don't get to. We're going to try to get to as many as we can during this time, but feel free to reach out. I'm on all the usual things, LinkedIn and that kind of thing, and my email address is very easy to figure out. It's just trevor.slade@ironmountain.com. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Michelle, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you, Trevor. Jamie, next slide. So we just wanted to make sure we didn't forget the sales partners. We truly appreciate you and being able to work alongside you to bring these clients on board. And so while we have a promotion that you can, as good corporate citizens, provide to your end clients for Smart Hands, we've got a spiff running that actually helps you out too. So kicked off April 1st and it runs through September 30th. And it's really, as you can see, a logo palooza. We're encouraging new data center sales and colocation sales. So anything over $1,000, we're going to spiff you guys on. We also have an opportunity for a bonus payout if there's more than one location. And at the end of the period, we're going to look across all of the sales, and the agent with the highest combined total MRC over the course of the spiff period will also get another payout, and it's pretty healthy. So we encourage you to contact us if you have any data center opportunities, and we'd be happy to give you some extra money on those. So throughout the course of the communication for this event, we've been making you guys aware that we are trying to wrap this around a charitable contribution program that we've established. And so we're working alongside Schneider Electric, one of our very valued vendor partners, and also the SciTech Institute. And the SciTech Institute has helped us find schools in the Phoenix, Arizona area that are in great need because of this digital divide that's become even more prevalent because of COVID-19, these children don't have access to some of the basic, devices and facilities they need to do their schoolwork while there's distance learning. So we're going to be donating up to 100 Google Chromebooks to schools in the area, and to students and their families who have who are in the greatest need. And Jamie, if you move on, I'm going to give everybody a challenge that's on this call today. We want you to help us drive that number to 100, because we say up to 100. So our goal is to donate 100 Chromebooks. And we've done that today through our participation in this webinar. For every 5 attendees, we are donating 5 Chromebooks. And here's the challenge. We want to take it a step further. We want you to help us out and promote this over LinkedIn. And so if you could please use photos or videos, make yourself public and tell us what you're thankful for. And please tag Iron Mountain Data Centers. And the way you do that is it's at Iron Space Mountain Space Data Space Centers. And I point that out because you might inadvertently pick up Iron Mountain, which is our corporate entity, and they're super interested in this too, but we want to make sure that, it goes through the Iron Mountain Data Centers link. Also, if you could hashtag IMDC thank you notes and hashtag IMDC cares, which is our initiative for these promotions that we're running through COVID. Anything you want to do, tell us what you're thankful for, show it to us, bring in your pets, your family, your friends, your colleagues. Please encourage your colleagues to do the same, and then just have some fun with it, because you're going to be helping to put more Chromebooks in the hands of these students in Phoenix. So we thank you very much for your time today. We truly appreciate your partnership. And last slide, Jamie, we have contact information. So if you would like to reach out to any member of the team, please do so through our channel specific mailbox, or you can call us. We have a Iron Mountain Data Center specific phone number, and then obviously you can reach us through our website and our contact forms there and find out more information about Iron Mountain Data Centers. And again, thank you for your time, and I'll hand it back to Gerald and Rob, who will kick off the Q&A.
I'll kick things off here with a question about, obviously, that's on everyone's mind right now, which is COVID-19, which is impacting data center operations in a number of ways. One example, IT departments are facing budget cuts, and in some cases, staffing shortages. Wondering if you could talk a little bit about how Smart Hands is helping companies as they face these new challenges.
Sure. So I think a couple of things to keep in mind. One, for us, wasn't just helping customers, right? We also have operators that we want to make sure stay safe. And so the more we can get customers leveraging the Smart Hands team, the fewer folks on site we have at any given time. So that's one piece of this puzzle for sure, is making sure that folks are aware of the service, because we want it to utilize it, and really that's about keeping our folks safe. And in addition to that, there's been several other things, challenges that are out there, right? Customers do have travel restrictions and things that are going on, and so there is an additional reliance on the service itself. And so we really wanted to make sure that folks knew that we're still open and ready to support their needs, even though they might be having travel restrictions. We want to make sure that this is the time where doing the simple standard things is the heroic act, right? And that's really what this is about. This is the time where they need us more than ever, and we really wanted to make sure that we can support them through that time and while keeping our team safe.
Trevor and Gerald, we've done some of that on the physical side too, where we've altered our staffing hours, increasing the amount of staff that are overnight and on weekends to be able to support increased tickets and increased change management tickets because the customer can't be there. We've done cross training amongst other groups like our critical facilities group to pair them up together so that they can assist our service delivery teams in rolling those things out. But we're acknowledging that there are more requests coming in because of the time in COVID.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Next question here is wondering if you could go into a little bit more about some of the a la carte offerings that you had mentioned earlier.
Sure. So a la carte, we offer everything that's in the catalog that we went over. So a customer can do anything that they want as far as the Smart Hands service goes. A la carte is the same as retainer. So if they just needed, let's say that they've never used a service before, but they in the middle of the night they had a server hang up and they need it to be rebooted, and they need it now, they can just go to the portal and submit that ticket, no problem. Then they'll just be billed for the time that's worked on that ticket itself. So that's really what the a la carte's all about, is giving all of our customers an option for the service.
Okay, and can you expand on some of your vendor partnerships?
Sure. So we do like to partner with vendors, as you saw Schneider Electric partnering with us on the give back piece. Our team has a tremendous amount of experience, but we also do leverage vendors in certain ways to help augment our team, especially on large projects. And that's where I think a lot of the opportunity is for the partnering, is coordinating large projects where it might be a migration for a customer or a build out, or and that's just enhancing the capabilities that we already have. We also partner with some of our other divisions at Iron Mountain, one being a group that does SITAD, right, which is the secure IT asset disposition, and that's that recycling of hardware or otherwise dispositioning them securely at end of life. And so that's a really an important initiative of what happens to the gear once it moves in. And really we're one of the few groups that have that full life cycle approach there. So we're both strong partnering with folks that are external, but also leveraging the full scope of our brand.
And for the integrators that have relationships with manufacturers, if it's a manufacturer that comes in and partners with us, if they end up bringing deals, we use that manufacturer however we can to make sure that their product is utilized in the construction.
That's a fair point. And in addition to that, we're not our Smart Hand service is intended not to block out the sun from managed service providers either, right? We very much encourage the ecosystem overall, and have a lot of managed service providers that are on site that have 24/7 NOCs as well, that service a ton of customers. And by all means, we encourage that rich ecosystem that has that specialization in maybe this or that. It could be a particular box, or just giving customers options. We very much want to encourage that as well, and that's how we structured our program, is that it leaves room for other folks to come in and run businesses in our facilities as well. And frankly, they leverage our service a lot too, to help them.
Okay, any closing thoughts here? Anything that we haven't touched on that you think might be important to our listeners?
Yeah, my thought is, I'm just really encouraged that this group comes together and does this. I think this is really cool for the channel to do it. I think now more than ever, with the shifting dynamics that are out there in the marketplace, having those experienced, consultative relationships with experts is going to be something that customers rely on more and more. And I'm just really encouraged that this group is spending the time to really understand the business that they're in. So that's awesome. Kudos to you, and I'm glad to be part of this.
Excellent.
We all look forward to the day we can tour again and get people into our data centers and show them what we're doing.
That's right.
Okay, that should wrap up today's webinar. A big thank you to the whole Iron Mountain Data Centers team, and of course to all of you for attending today's event. To access this webinar on demand, head over to channelvisionmag.com/webinars. You can learn more about Iron Mountain Data Centers at ironmountain.com/datacenters. Thanks. We'll see you next time. Stay safe, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.